Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, I'll introduce you to an amazing young lady who is helping at-risk young people paint a brighter future. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm worried about young people today. Frankly, nobody could have predicted the pandemic and our response to it, and what we've done with our children is concerning. I mean, we're masking them up. Many of them are learning from home. There's mental health issues that will become a global pandemic if it hasn't already happened. To talk about at-risk young people and how art can bring them out of the shadows. Kristen Rice, she is with Color Me Empowered. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Very cool. All right, so tell us what Color Me Empowered is.
So we are a visual arts organization. Our focus is visual arts education and public art. Our target demographic is kids who are not getting out of school art time normally. So we place ourselves in community centers and schools where kind of like food deserts.
Yeah.
There's something called program deserts. A lot of times they're hand in hand, like where there's a food desert, there's a program desert. And so our focus is those kids who don't have a lot of art supplies at home, who aren't going to see the museums, and for whatever reason just don't have access to the same level of high quality programming as their, wealthier counterparts do.
Sure. And I know you do physical in-class sessions, but you also do Zoom. We've got some video of one of your Zoom meetings. Tell us about this. How often do you do these?
So we pivoted pretty quickly during the pandemic because we realized we weren't going to be able to open the studio.
Sure.
And that was a gigantic blow. And I think that I can speak for everybody in the world, we all kind of hoped that it wouldn't be that long of an ordeal. And I mean, it's still really happening, in a lot of ways.
Right.
So we decided in May, we're like, okay, we can't just be radio silent. We had also gotten a grant from Allstate to give out 300 art kits. So, there are lots of things that we discovered during the pandemic. But what we did was we just figured out a way to take all our programming virtual. And so what we would do is Jess, our curriculum director, she would write up the curriculum for the week. We would figure out what supplies we needed. Every kid would get a box with everything they needed.
Cool.
They could log into the Zoom and do it with us. And so there would be Jess on the Zoom, there would be me on the Zoom, and I would be watching for when kids would get frustrated so that I could help problem shoot,
Right.
Help them problem solve. And Jess would turn the camera down on her hand so the kids could see what they were doing. And so we just did it that way. We deliver the art kits on Sunday evening, and the kids would have everything they needed for the week. And it was a way for us to stay connected with our kids when we couldn't be there in person with them.
And very interactive, and I think there is kind of a Zoom fatigue that we have with young people.
For sure.
But because of what you were doing, I think you really made it work and made art come alive.
Yeah.
You also work with other organizations. We've got some pictures off of your Facebook, and I want you to tell us what we're looking at.
So this was our first annual West Side Stories in partnership with FG3 Productions. It was sponsored by the Texas Commission on the Arts and the Dallas Office of Cultural Affairs. And what we did was we partnered one of our student participants with a professional artist, and they worked on a piece together, and then we put that all up as one art installation.
Yes.
And so we've been able to, obviously 2020 was our last year to do West Side Stories. We're working on, bringing it back for 2022. I'm laughing just because there's still so many challenges that we have to face and pulling off any face-to-face event. And so this event is particularly special because it's a chance for the professional artists that we work with to get to know our kids, and the kids to see what a professional artist looks like. You know, like in so many ways, the artists look like they do.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And it's you made it clear before the show that you're not art therapists, but it does have a way of reaching young people in a way that maybe science doesn't or other classes doesn't.
For sure. Well, art bridges connections, right? It bridges connections to other subjects. It helps kids do well in their core subjects. It helps them build problem-solving skills that will help them for the rest of their lives. But one of the things that we really emphasize with our programming and in our studio is that whoever you are is exactly who you should be, right? Cool. So whatever your full authentic self is, be that, because that is where good art comes from, is being authentic. And we don't want the kids to be anything but themselves, because the outside world is telling them constantly, you're not good enough. This is not good enough. And so when they come into our studio, or we're working with them wherever we are, we really work hard to create a safe space for them, something that says, we love who you are. We want to see whatever that is, and we want to pull it out of you, because that is good and that is worthy and that is enough, because that's not what they're getting from the outside. So we want our studio to be the opposite of that, where kids can grow and thrive and figure out who they are. And we know not every kid is going to grow up to be an artist, but that artist mentality is that, okay, just because it's never been done before doesn't mean I can't do it. And take that mentality to every facet of their life, whether they become a doctor or an engineer or an electrician, whatever it is, taking that resiliency and that creativity to solve the problems of tomorrow.
And you've captured the attention of the media. In fact, I first saw you on NBC5 on their Texas Today program. That's a great way to reach out to people who might not even know about your program and want to plug in and maybe even donate.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always looking for people to take part in our programming and, support us. Obviously, we're a nonprofit, so funding is the name of the game, because there's always a higher demand than what we have capacity for. And so being able to serve more kids, to be able to continue to grow our mission and our outreach, I'm always amazed that this gets to be my job, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. You're the absolute right person to lead this mission and ministry. Tell everybody the Ruby story. So
I have a student. She was a student when I taught elementary school. Her name was Ruby. Just the sweetest little girl. I taught her from the time that she was in kindergarten, a baby. I call them my babies when they're that little. And was with Ruby, all through her elementary education. And, a lot of teachers, they don't connect with their students on social media, but I always do. I've found that, for the demographic that we work with, a lot of times it allows them to be able to reach out to you if they need something. And that happened with Ruby. She just needed a little support. and she was in college, and she just needed a little encouragement. And I was like, Ruby, come work for us at the studio. And that's happened, more than one time where students have said, hey, can I come work for you? Do you have anything that I can do? So yeah, Ruby, come on, and she did. And it helped her have the confidence to move on to the next chapter in her life. And, I haven't talked to her in a few months, but I, follow her on social media, and she looks like she's doing fantastic. I know
Wow.
she moved to New York, and, she just looks really, really healthy and like she's in a good place.
That is really cool. And my prediction is in the years to come, you will run into
Of course.
young people
Of
that
course.
will be holding babies of their own saying, you won't remember me, but you've been an amazing guest. We're absolutely going to have you back again soon. Let's end with your website, which is cmedfw.org. Kristen Rice, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.